If you wanna be my lover, you gotta kidnap me. So romantic. Ah yes, the film that set feminism and all of womankind back 100 years. If you haven't seen this movie yet, please spare your eyeballs and time because this review is really all you need to know about it. So 365 Days was released on Netflix recently and very quickly rose to #1 in a bunch of different countries. I like to think people will hate watching it, but probably not the case. The movie first cursed my Netflix recommendations about a week ago and just never left. Finally, succumbing to FOMO, I read the description, which immediately raised several red flags. The write-up goes as follows. A woman falls victim to a dominant mafia boss who imprisons her and gives her 1 year to fall in love with him. Also known as an hour and 56 of glorified Stockholm Syndrome. The IMDb description is even more bizarre. Massimo is a member of the Sicilian mafia family and Laura is a sales director. She does not expect that on a trip to Sicily trying to save her relationship, Massimo will kidnap her and give her 365 days to fall in love with him. I'm sorry, who would expect that? Do people just go through customs and then the customs officer asks, are you here for like business, pleasure, what are you doing here? And you say, well, I'm initially, just coming to frolic on the beach and whatnot. I love the beaches here in Sicily. But I am expecting to be kidnapped by a mafia boss, but he has a lot of money, so it's okay, don't worry. Don't look for me. I'm fine. Is that like what people do? The ones who expect for this to happen? And the plot keywords just say it all. It goes oral sex, male full rear nudity, bare breasts, doggy, male nudity. You know it's going to be a good film when the entire plot revolves around nudity. 365 Days is actually a screen adaptation for the first book in some Polish trilogy. I wish it had stayed in book format. Unfortunately, Netflix had other ideas. A lot of critics have been comparing 365 Days to 50 Shades of Grey, but I think 365 Days is way worse. I mean, at least there was mutual consent and a contract involved in 50 Shades. I think this movie was directed at middle-aged housewives who secretly crave and romanticize this idea of some kinky, domineering alpha male to spice up their sex lives. This much is evident from the Google reviews. I looked at the Google reviews because I was quite interested, to see who actually liked this film. Dawn said, I thought it was one of the great... Okay, already a mistake there, maybe giving her too much credit for her age. I thought it was one of the great fantasy story that had romance and sex and love, where two souls were truly met for one another. The chemistry these two actors displayed were awesome! 2 exclamation marks. They both had such intensity! 2 exclamation marks. One that has to have a follow-up series would even be awesome! That was one of those endings that had to be continued, and hopefully definitely have Laura survive. After all, she was carrying his baby! 2 exclamation marks. It's got so much passion and intensity between these two awesome actors. So much better than 50 Shades by far. Some of these reviews are telling me that I think sadly they just didn't get what was really the whole story behind it. Who wouldn't want someone that adored you and yet drove you mad at the same time? It was totally mutual feelings with cat and mouse tactics. You even saw how really drab her life was before she was with this gorgeous manly man. Yeah, you're right, Dawn. I completely misinterpreted this man kidnapping a woman against her will. My bad. It was such a layered performance. Personally, I think the whole domineering male, obedient, submissive female thing is an outdated trope, but clearly Dawn would beg to differ. Let's dive in, I guess. Quick backstory. Laura, the kidnappee, is a sales director from Poland in a relationship with some jerk called Martin. He doesn't prioritize her, all this stuff, so naturally she plans a trip with him and some of her friends to Sicily to try have a good time and save the relationship. As you may know, it does not work out. And then Massimo, the main hunk, if you will, is an Italian mafia boss. His dad was shot 5 years ago and he took over the family business, which was the Sicilian mafia. Seconds before his dad died that fateful day, Massimo had actually been ogling Laura from afar with binoculars. Creepy, but okay. So apparently after that, Massimo just can't get Laura out of his head and his dreams. So when he sees her in Sicily 5 years later, present day, he seems to think that this obsession somehow justifies or gives him permission to take the woman of his literal dreams hostage, as opposed to asking her out for a drink or something. I don't know why he immediately dismissed the idea of eliciting a consensual date. I'm fairly certain she would have said yes, and if she hadn't, that would have been your answer right there. But no, clearly in his twisted mind, he thought thought, no. The only way for her to actually fall in love with me is for me to kidnap her. It's so romantic. In the first few minutes of the film, we're made aware of, what an alpha male Massimo is when the air hostess gives him a blowjob, because God forbid a woman derive any pleasure from a sexual encounter. That's just not manly enough. And then he does this thing which becomes a motif throughout the movie, which I can only describe as lip smushing. I guess it's meant to be sensual and dominaty, but it just makes me feel uncomfortable, frankly. So after capturing her, Massimo tells Laura he won't force her to do anything she doesn't want to do. The irony that he said this after holding her hostage is not lost on me. But literally a minute after these assurances, he's shoving her against the wall and being a creep in general and trying to intimidate her. They seem to continually have a very physical relationship, and he tends to shove her into all kinds of furniture. I guess to remind the viewers and her how powerful and controlling he is, in case anyone forgot. I don't know, the way these scenes are shot and portrayed kind of glorifies, romanticizes sexual assault and physical abuse. Instead of reacting in natural fear when Massimo treats her like that, Laura will arch her back or contort her body into some alluring model-like pose. I know it's meant to seem sexy and passionate, but I just don't find it attractive in the slightest. The general flow of events is so absurd. Laura seems to accept her lot worryingly quickly, and soon we have a shopping montage. How exciting. Massimo exerts his power and influence to get Laura to like him, like buying her really expensive clothes, which is kind of fucked up. But what's more fucked up is that it actually works. And from then on, I think we could very easily break down the plot into sex scene montage, sex scene montage, sex scene montage, etc. Suddenly Laura is his arm candy to all these clubs and fancy events, and he successfully tricked her into liking him. There were so many sex scenes that I actually got bored and skipped ahead every time one started. They were just unnecessarily long and numerous and didn't contribute to the plot or lack thereof in any way. Because of said scene skipping, I almost missed Laura telling Massimo that she loved him. Sadly, I didn't. I don't know if this is just me, but even if I fell in love with the man who had taken me hostage, I don't think I would tell him, just out of principle. I'm not gonna let him think he can manipulate me like that. Fuck you, I'd rather die an old spinster. The only slightly normal character in this whole thing is Laura's best friend, who had the right reaction when Laura told her the truth about how she and Massimo had met, and that was disgust and concern. But 30 seconds later she changes her tune and she's like, well, I guess it's okay if you love him. I'm so happy for you. And they hug it out and everything is okay again. What annoyed me the most was that Laura just did everything Massimo wanted her to and shaped her entire life around his. She's such a two-dimensional character, I couldn't pinpoint a single personality trait of hers. Not one. What are her hopes and dreams? What does she want to do in life? What's her favorite color? I guess we'll never know because Massimo is too busy having manly sex with her. Some people are arguing that, this is good for her because she was in a terrible relationship before and now she's in one with a questionable man, but okay. Like, yes, I'm also happy that she's out of her terrible relationship with a man who clearly didn't deserve her, but I think we really need to ask ourselves, is being kept hostage on an island with a strange man who's obsessed with you considered better circumstances? I think she really could have just done with being single for a while, kind of find herself. Clearly she doesn't know anything about herself, or she at least has never expressed any defining identity of some kind. I think she really should have just taken some time off her job, traveled the world, and just truly reflect. Alas, this did not happen. In the end, her main priority is finding a lovely wedding dress so she can marry the man who took her hostage. Oh yes, and she's pregnant. Unfortunately, this isn't just a harmless bad movie. 365 Days translates into a terrible message for anyone who watches it. So men are shown that this is acceptable behavior and it validates them taking liberties with women because obviously no means yes. It suggests that force is the best way to just take what you want and it'll work out in your favor. Women are shown that being forced into situations like this is romantic. A man pushing you around is expressing his love for you. And never forget, male pleasure always comes first. In summary, this kind of power imbalance is not to be romanticized by the media. Please let this movie be the last of its kind, I beg. This is based on a trilogy. If there is a sequel to this, I will have to give up on humanity. That's the only option, I'm sorry. I'll just have to give up on society entirely and go live in a mountain somewhere. I don't don't think I've ever left a review for anything in my entire life, but I had to leave a Google review for this, which is basically a summary of everything that I said. This sexist, misogynistic movie is a major setback for feminism and plays into rape culture. This further encourages men to take liberties, such as kidnapping women against their will and holding them hostage. That'll make them fall in love with you, obviously. The female character is two-dimensional, only used as arm candy and for sex. Apparently she has no hopes or dreams of her own, or any likes or dislikes at all. Really disappointed that this is considered content in 2020. 2 people found this helpful, so if I can stop one more person from watching this movie, this will have been all worth it. If you actually did genuinely like the movie and nothing I said here put you off it at all, I would be very intrigued to hear your reasoning, to be honest. So this was my first movie commentary video. Maybe it'll be the last. Maybe it's just the beginning of something beautiful. Thanks for watching. Bye.